In talking about, Back to the Future and, working on the Jordan line through those iconic years and things like that, do you ever think and kind of look back and reflect how so many things came together? Even, the work on the cross trainers and the Air Max 1s and things like that, it's like, there were so many times where you seem to be in the perfect place at the perfect time. And obviously a lot of that is hard work and a lot of that is talent. How much do you kind of think about that and reconcile that, and how much do you just, maybe you don't look back and think about it that way because you're always focused on the next thing?
I think you're touching on something that's very real. Timing is everything, and had I not been paired up with Michael Jordan, things might have been different. Or maybe I would have ended up being paired with someone else. But the reality is, timing is and circumstances are always, important parts of the success profile for almost anyone. I do though sometimes hear, "Wow, you're so lucky that you got to do Air Jordans," and I'm like, yeah, it's true. I was really fortunate that I got to work with him. But I also remember taking full advantage and being very aggressive about how to leverage such a special person into really nice design work that other people would really kind of dig. So I guess there's always this kind of combo of things that has to sort of kind of line up.
Yeah, and maximizing the opportunity.
I think that's where some people that that person is so lucky they got to do that, or I think they sort of actually overlook the fact that even if your timing is right, you still might screw up. It still might not. Things still might not be turn out the way you want it. So you have to work super hard, and you have to again maximize everything around you. I think that's kind of what all people, successful people do is they leverage and maximize their opportunities, and sometimes special things happen.
Nice, I like that.
Matt, right? Let me get this straight.
Gabe.
Who's Matt?
That's Matt.
There's Matt.
Robert.
And Robert. Okay, got it. Gabe,
as long as we told Kendall if she remembers any of the names, it's fine. How long have you been riding motorcycles?
That's a good question. I'm going to say I probably have been riding full-size motorcycles for about 17 years. But before that it was just scooters.
Yeah.
And I have a funny story about it because Michael Jordan, after he retired, he was riding motorcycles a lot, and I'd always come in the room and he's like, "So how's your little motor scooter? How you doing on your little scooter? You're not a big. Where's your big boy pants? You just need to ride real motorcycles." And my wife does not like motorcycles, but I kind of in a way was sort of shamed into stepping up and starting to ride, which I really have really enjoyed. It was kind of like I knew I was going to get razzed by MJ every time.
Nice.
Up with how people are improving in performance. I was an athlete way before I was an architecture student, but going through architecture school, I really learned a solid design process. People's needs and wants and desires, cultural phenomena and influences from a lot of different things, and that's the way I think most architects kind of look at design. We're trying to do things first, trying to do them better. So my role as a futurist is simply to continue to do what I've done in the past, but actually to pass along that kind of thinking to others. The real first design was the Air Max Zero. I was trying to take Nike flare design, in this case running shoe design, into a new place. There were these great airbags laying around that were getting bigger and better, and I visited Renzo Piano's building in Paris, the Pompidou Center, and then I just sort of felt, I think this is going to be a better, more cushioned running shoe. We're also going to be able to tell a story about the technology because now you can see it. And the funny thing about the Zero, though, was that it was probably a little too progressive. So I had to sort of reel myself back in a little bit to do the One, which achieved everything that we wanted it to achieve, but was a little more palatable than just being a complete spaceship where everything was different than what had preceded it. I remember that Nike shoes, running shoes in particular, were kind of being driven by the market too much. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're a leadership company, that might not be the best place to be, to always be focusing. And so, I just started drawing as if I wasn't paying attention to any of that. It was really much more about how could we improve the performance of a running shoe? How could we also then take design in this sort of more utilitarian world of athletics and add some panache to it, add some inspiration, and continue to maintain a high level of performance. I hadn't been designing shoes for a whole long time. It was pretty easy for me to not even worry about the normal way to design shoes. I think that's a trick for design, whether you're designing cars or bicycles or toasters. There has to be something recognizable about the design, people to understand it. Hopefully there's something new and different about it as well. Air Max Zero, for its time and place, it had too many new ideas. Although all these years later, it's a perfect time to actually bring it out.
What are some of the similarities you see when you look at, kind of transportation design, motorcycle design, car design, and then sneaker design?
Oh yeah, well, it's a great question to talk about, design influence from one, industry or one product type to another. And it's quite common for a designer like myself to be inspired by a car or a motorcycle. And I look at those magazines a lot and, try and pay attention to the latest stuff. And then of course there's a huge custom scene here in Portland. Everybody, if you're really actually cool, you have you take a Honda CB and you customize it or whatever. But so I'm trying to pay attention to all of that, and if you sort of add that back into cool cars, and you can be inspired by the lines, by even the composition, and I think more than once I've referenced motorcycles and or cars in the design of my shoes.
Right.
Sure.
When you're kind of out and about traveling, do you find yourself, are you very focused on people's feet and their shoes and their footwear and things like that?
It's a disease. I swear I miss half of the scenery because I'm always looking at people's feet, and it's a natural kind of reaction to being in the business, sort of not just looking at like new designs, but just kind of taking inventory on, what's going on, what people are wearing. So yeah, I look down a lot.
Is that how it is when you watch sports as well? Are you very fixated? Like, does it kind of distract from the action?
I think in basketball, in particular, it's always kind of a big deal as to it's kind of, I think it's part of the culture of basketball to sort of notice what shoe a person is wearing, and whether or not they're, of course, playing well is another one. But the cool shoe along with playing well is like that's the home run.
Yeah, for sure. When you're out riding motorcycles now, is it very therapeutic? Is it like a time where you can kind of turn off the work and all of those things? And is it kind of like a Zen type of thing? Or how would you describe when you're out riding motorcycles?
It is a way to block out work and other issues that might kind of be present or omnipresent in your mind, because really getting on a motorcycle requires a lot of attention, and some skill, and so for me, I get on and I try to just wipe everything clean and concentrate on being a good rider, a safe rider, and also try to always think about improving my skills every time I go out. And so, and I think that's good because you definitely have to just like leave everything else alone in your head, focus.
Nice. And what about all of the music? What kind of outlet is that for you? And what types of things, do you play all these instruments? What do you do?
Well, I'm learning some extra instruments, primarily these days a keyboardist.